Hey guys, welcome to the Midnight Company. We're back again with another sweet list. Today, we have a very special guest, the one and only Miss Amelia. Just kidding, it's Chelsea Stardust. Hey!
Hi guys, thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm supposed to say something. Fuck. Thank you and welcome, Chelsea.
Welcome.
Chelsea actually directed not one, but 2 feature films in 2019. So what better way to end the year with her and our top 10 horror movies of the year list.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Thank you for coming. So we're going to go one by one through each of our 10 lists. My number 10 of 2019 was the Child's Play remake. Really liked it. Did you guys see it? What did you think?
I saw it. Bold statement. Bold statement.
I really enjoyed it. I loved it. Felt to me like what they did for Dawn of the Dead. They changed it just enough to make it interesting.
I did like the changes, the choices they made. I saw it in the theater. There were just a couple things that happened that I just couldn't quite get past, but it takes a lot of guts to remake that movie.
Right.
So I was like, okay. I thought Orion did a decent job with it.
My number 10 is Haunt.
That was a fun movie.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet. There's a couple I haven't seen yet, and that's one of them.
That was such a fun little indie film. I think it's a Shudder movie, right? Did I make that up?
Yes.
Okay, I loved that it was a new Halloween movie with like a new take on home haunts, and I thought it was really fun.
Yeah, it looked awesome. I need to see it. My number 10 is Villains, which I caught at Cinepocalypse when I was there. It was doing a festival run with Satanic Panic, and it's Bill Skarsgård and Micah Monroe and Kira Sedgwick, and it's sort of a horror comedy, and I just really loved it. The tone is really strange in it, and it's really cool to see Skarsgård like not doing sort of a character piece, that he's actually doing something different, and they sort of have a true romance-esque relationship in it, him and Micah Monroe. So I think it's out. I think it's on VOD, so I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it yet.
My number 9 was Dr. Sleep. Of course, it's a sequel to The Shining. Mike Flanagan did it. It was great. I loved it. I loved all the nods to the original, and as an adaptation of the book, I thought it was really faithful. Really enjoyed it.
I love Dr. Sleep.
Yep.
I loved it. It's on my list.
Number 9 on mine is Annabelle Comes Home. I actually thought this was like the funnest movie in the Conjuring series.
Yeah, I thought it was really fun. This thing with the scene with the nickels or the
Oh my god, it was so
coins,
creepy.
it was great. Yeah.
And it felt like Night at the Museum, but in James Wan's world.
Yeah.
It was really
totally.
fun.
That's a really good way to explain it. My number 9 is, some of my choices are going to be loosey-goosey within the horror genre, but my number 9 was Climax by Gaspar Noé.
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah, that was great.
Yeah, talk about like the horrors of of sort of a drug-addled experience, I guess, and not knowing you're in that experience, I'll say. But if you're a Gaspar Noé fan, you absolutely have to see it if you haven't already.
And those like that opening dance routine, you're just like, holy shit.
It's one shot. The cinematography is incredible too. Yeah.
I loved it.
Number 8 for me is Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse. Loved this movie. Loved that they shot in black and white. I loved the film stock they used. I loved the aspect ratio. I loved the performances. I loved the lighting. I loved the story. What is there not to love about the movie except for Robert Pattinson jerking off a bunch of times?
There. Number 8 on my list is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I love the book. Ever since I was a kid, it's really inspiring to me. The movie was super fun.
I actually really liked the movie. That just came shy of my top 10. It would have been number 11. I love Andre Overdell. I loved Autopsy of Jane Doe, so I was really excited to see his take on Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And I actually thought it was a really fun adaptation of it. And it's hard. That's a really tough thing to do, and I really liked I know a lot of people are sort of complaining about CGI, and honestly, I didn't mind it because we talk about practical effects all the time as horror lovers, but you have to think about like who that movie was made for, and it's made for kids.
Absolutely.
And kids have no idea practical versus CGI. Like they're not really aware of practical effects really yet at that age, so they don't really know any different, and so or haven't been maybe educated about that in a general sense, unless their parents are horror lovers. But I thought it was really fun, and I dug it. Yeah.
That was like the only movie we saw twice last year, or this year, I guess.
I think, yeah, I think so. And it really is. It's like a good stepping stone for the next generation of horror fans.
Totally. My number 8 is Tigers Are Not Afraid. Issa Lopez's movie you can find on Shudder right now. I thought it was excellent. I didn't know anything about it before I watched it, and definitely I had quite an emotional reaction to it that I didn't expect to because of the content, but also highly recommend that one.
Number 7 for me was Ready or Not. Super, super fun movie. Love the main actress. I can't think of her name right now.
Samara Weaving.
Yeah.
She was awesome. I love the movie. I won't spoil it, but the ending really sells the whole thing. It really ties it all together in a really fun way. Just a fun movie. That's all I really have to say about it.
And it would be a great double feature with Satanic Panic. Just doing a plug there.
Absolutely.
It would.
Pairs
Good
really
call.
well with that movie.
Number 7 for me is actually The Lighthouse. Watching that movie, it feels like something, I don't know if I ever want to watch it again, but seeing it and actually growing up in Maine in the heart of, fisherman country and where lighthouses are and things like that, it felt really true to that aesthetic, and watching another Robert Eggers movie just makes you think, I'm never going to be that good of a director.
Kills you a little bit inside.
It does. He's incredible.
My number 7 was Knife and Heart. I love, or Knife Plus Heart, which I think is also you can find on Shudder right now.
It is.
And it's just this beautiful sort of throwback to the giallo genre that I really loved, and I was lucky enough to see it before it came out as a secret screener someone gave to me. But seeing it on a big screen was incredible too. I think that played at the New Art maybe, but yeah, loved that as well.
Number 6 for me is Annabelle Comes Home. We already talked about it a little bit, but again, it was just a super fun movie. It felt like, remember when we were kids, we go to carnivals and there'd be like a dark ride there? It felt like a dark ride to me. You're going through one room, there's some cool, freaky thing happening, and then you go a little bit further, and another cool, freaky thing happens. Just a fun movie. That's why I enjoy movies, because they're fun.
Yeah.
Number 6 for me is actually Dr. Sleep. I know we already mentioned it. We were lucky enough to go to a free screening from Warner Brothers on Halloween. It was really fun. I thought it was a really great movie. I haven't read the book. I love Ewan McGregor. I love seeing him actually in things again. Yeah. And Flanagan can do no wrong in my book.
He's amazing.
I watched Haunting of Hill House this year. I didn't see it last year because I was shooting when it was on, and I was blown away. I actually wish Dr. Sleep would have come out in October, but I understand, can't the marketing stuff, but I think it would have done really well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's sad. It totally underperformed.
Yeah. Yeah, it was such a bummer. But I was like, maybe, I think they should have strategized that a little bit differently. Yeah. So my number 6 is Happy Death Day to You.
Okay.
I'm also a little biased because I'm friends with Chris Landon, and Israel Broussard was in my first movie, so was sort of going to geek out. But I really loved it, and I thought it was great. I loved the first one, and the world's even bigger. There's a lot more going on. And I thought Chris did a great job. I would have loved to have seen a third one, what the next step of that would be, and maybe we'll see that in the future, but who knows?
Well, also, I know, being your friend, that you're a huge Back to the Future fan.
Yes.
So when I think of that movie, I think of you. I think it didn't resonate with me because I'm not as much of a sci-fi person, but it wasn't it wasn't by any means a bad movie. It was actually really fun.
Yeah.
I will say there's a really beautifully emotional, resonant scene between Tree and her mom that really affected me.
Oh, yes.
That was really powerful and really beautiful, too. So the movie works on a bunch of different levels. It's funny, it's scary, it's heartwarming.
Yeah.
Number 5 for me is Lords of Chaos. I watched this movie earlier in this year. It is brutal, it is hardcore, it is steeped in black metal mythology. I'm sure Miss Amalia will tell you a lot more about it because I know she has it ranked higher on her list. What did you guys think?
Well, that's number 5 on my list as well. I absolutely loved it. It's one of 2 movies I asked for Christmas, and I am obsessed with the Norwegian metal scene. I want to go there and visit all the locations of the churches that burned down like a crazy person. But I'm really fascinated by Mayhem's story, and Death and Varg and Dead and Varg and all of that. So, but Emma can definitely speak more about it than I can. But I absolutely loved that movie, and I thought it was so incredibly brutal, and I wasn't expecting that at all when I was watching it. And I think that's what kind of really shook me with the movie.
Well, the amount of violence like kind of takes you aback too. It's very violent in a very graphic way, but I think that helps to sort of bring you into that black metal world and bring you into their world.
My number 5 is actually Satanic Panic.
Whoa!
Oh stop. What?
I'm not even playing with you. I'm not saying that because you're sitting here. If you guys haven't seen Chelsea's movie yet, it's sort of
Super
like Deathgasm meets Jennifer's Body meets your high school experience of being underpaid and overworked. It's so much fun. It's such a great like buddy comedy horror. I love like the strong feminist elements of it. I love the gore. I love Jerry O'Connell.
Vaping. Love it. That's like my favorite part of the whole movie is Jerry O'Connell being a vapor.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. I did not expect that.
Can you share with us like one little like fun story about making that movie?
Well, I'll talk about the Jerry O'Connell scene a little bit since you mentioned that one. So we had Jerry, that was one day of shooting that scene with him. And we had the entire day to shoot that scene because we only had 18 days to make the movie, so we were shooting really quickly. And it was so fun. And him and Haley like totally hit it off. And also that character is like a very tough character to play. Like even when we were casting, we're like, ooh, this role is a little tough. And he stayed in the room with us the whole time. He basically, my assistant Sam Weinman would, stand in for him, and he'd say, "What? Are you standing in for me?" It's like, no, let me stand in for me. You don't have to stand in for me. I can do it. We're like, no, we don't want to make. No, let me do it. Okay.
What a good sport.
Yeah, and just hung out in the room with us like the whole time, and it was really fun to shoot. And of course, he has to wear sort of all these like he's all rigged up with prosthetics, and then of course Rebecca has the fisting scene with him. That's all I'll say about it. But that is the first time I think they've done something like that to each other. So,
oh, they brought like shunting into their relationship.
Yes.
Number 4.
Number 4 for me is Parasite. I was completely taken by this movie. I was unprepared for this movie. It is tense. It fills you with anxiety. But in my opinion, it's also super funny. Just laughing the whole time. It's a very claustrophobic film. Don't watch it if you don't like tight spaces.
But the fun part about Parasite was we actually went to see it. He knew nothing. I was just like, we're going to the movies. Have fun. And he knew, so he really did not know what he was in for the day we saw that. Number 4 on my list is Ready or Not, which I know has already made your list. It's a bit higher for me because I am obsessed with Adam Brody. I love him. I think he should be in everything ever. He is like I've listened to him on podcasts and stuff, and he's such a feminist. He's like so hardcore about supporting like female leads, and Samara Weaving was amazing. It's bloody, it's fun, it's fucking ridiculous. Go see that.
yeah. Number 4 for me was Dr. Sleep, which I absolutely loved, and I think Mike Flanagan had a big task to do a sequel to the movie and an adaptation of the book, which is not easy. And I thought he did an incredible job with it. And there's a couple scenes that I had a crazy emotional reaction to, one of which involves the baseball boy. If you've seen it, you know what that means. And also Abra's reaction to that as well was really intense, and both those actors are just incredible. The kids in it are amazing. And as a filmmaker, The Shining, it's like to be able to recreate.
That just like gave me goosebumps just thinking about it again.
I can't even imagine how incredible that must have been as a filmmaker to be able to be in that world. And I just loved it, and I feel, and it's such a bummer that it underperformed, but I thought it was such a great movie.
Mike Flanagan is one of only 3 directors to film The Shining. No, 4. We've got Mick Garris.
Yep.
Mike Flanagan, Stanley Kubrick, and
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, that's right.
From Ready Player One.
From Ready Player One. That's right.
Number 3 for me is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I absolutely love this movie, but only the second time seeing it. We saw it once, and I remember not really enjoying it that much, but we went back, and the second time, I don't know if I saw it with new eyes, but it was so much fun, and I love the characters. I love how it takes place in the 60s, and I just love the look of it, and I think the cinematography is really beautiful, and the directing is really great.
Random fact. What's his name? Is it Andre?
Overdell? Yeah.
I'll never be able to say that, so I'm just gonna go off what you, that name. Him and I are alumni of the same school for the same degree.
Wow.
Yeah, really interesting.
No way.
Both brookies. My number 3 is Lords of Chaos, because it belongs in the top 3. As they've alluded, I am a huge black metal fan. It's based off the book Lords of Chaos, which I had in high school. It was like went everywhere with me. I traveled to see like the first screenings of this movie. Because
that's awesome.
Yeah, I am obsessed. I've heard Jonas Ackerlund talk about it. The violence in it had to be there, in my opinion. Like the Death of Dead was like, as you all know from seeing the movie now, an album cover, and I had that as like a t-shirt in high school. Like, it was a big deal. Like, it was that gory in real life. It had to be that gory on screen. I think some of the casting decisions were a little weird, but overall, I fucking loved it. I think Varg is garbage. Fuck you, you racist piece of shit.
Yep.
Long live true Norwegian black metal.
My number 3 was Crawl. I love Crawl. I know. Bold statement. That was the other movie besides Lords of Chaos that I asked for Christmas was Crawl. I loved seeing Aja sort of come back to I guess man versus animal movie after doing like Piranha, and I was so excited for this movie. And sort of similar how I was excited for the Meg, but the Meg did not deliver for me like Crawl did. And I have a crazy fear of snakes, sharks, alligators, and crocodiles. So it was ticking some boxes for me. And also the concept is so genius. I was like, why are we just getting this movie now? But I loved it. I just had so much fun. And I, of course, fell for all the scares because I'm scared of gators. But I had such a blast with this movie. I know, bold statement to be in my top 3, but I dug it.
Number 2 for me is the newest Jordan Peele masterpiece, Us. It didn't resonate on a societal level as much for me as Get Out did, but I still loved Us. Lupita's performance is Oscar-worthy in my opinion, just like Hereditary's Toni Collette.
Never forget.
Toni Collette. We want you. Us was super fun for me. I loved all the costume designs. I loved the world they created. I loved everything about it.
I enjoyed Us, but I think I wish they wouldn't have explained it to me. Like at the
You wanted a
very
little
end.
less info.
I wanted less info.
I can see that, yeah.
Because it started to fall apart because it made me sort of think about
Yeah.
everything. And I was like,
Leave
oh,
it a
no,
little
no,
more
no,
abstract.
no. Yeah, please. No, don't tell me everything. Oh, God. And then because it makes me sort of undo it. I kept thinking, I was like, oh, wait, but then what about this? And what about this? And it made me ask too many questions.
Yeah.
That I would have rather it just gone to sort of keep it to my imagination, let you figure
That's
it
fair.
out.
Yeah, I feel that way too. Number 2 for me was Parasite. I loved this movie. I love its commentary on classism. It's very gripping. It's beautifully shot. The story broke my heart. I loved it.
I'm going to second that. Number 2 for me was Parasite as well.
Oh!
Yep. Same thing. I went into it not knowing. I knew that the director. I loved Snowpiercer. And I, went in, with pretty high expectations. And I made a point to see it in a theater as opposed to a screener. And I loved it. And it's also not a short movie. I think it's 2.5 hours. Never noticed the time whatsoever. I was in it, and the anxiety that it produces is pretty intense, like you were saying.
Is.
But I absolutely loved it. Yeah.
So we are doing
Oh my
number
gosh,
1.
Number one.
On the count of 3, we're all going to shout our number 1 at the same time. 1, 2, 3.
Lighthouse!
My number 1 was Midsommar, of course, directed by Ari Aster, his second feature-length film. This film affected me in a way that no other did this year. The first 15 minutes alone had me paralyzed.
I sat next to him, and he looked like he was going through some serious trauma.
I was sickened. I say sickened, but I mean it in like the most gripping sort of way. It's repulsive, and if you've seen the movie, you know what's going on in the first 15 minutes. But it really affected me, and I think the catharsis Florence goes throughout the entire movie is beautiful in a way. How she's able to sort of cut toxic people out of her life and sort of find a new, for lack of a better word, and find a new identity and a new family. It's the catharsis for me was very real.
Yeah, I agree. It's number 1 on my list too. Like, for me, it's like the ultimate like breakup playlist. Like it's like when you are going through a massive heartbreak, that is the movie you put on, and you're like, "Fuck you, motherfucker! Get in a bear suit and die."
My number one was The Lighthouse.
Wow.
Which, yes, I loved that movie. Of course, Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson were just incredible in it, and I love the comedy in it, and it's totally absurdist cinema, and I thought it was really ballsy cinema, and I thought every shot/frame of that movie could be framed on your wall.
Like,
Oh, absolutely.
It was so beautifully shot.
Yep.
I was like, this is art. And as Elric Kane says, pure cinema. Like, it felt like pure cinema to me. I think some people maybe took it, like, really seriously, where there's a lot of comedy in it.
Mm-hmm.
And he does an interview on Shockwaves, and he talks a little bit about the comedy in it and the research he did for it. And I just totally loved it. I was like, this movie is awesome. And I will definitely... I think I'll definitely be revisiting it once it's out on some format.
I feel like it's something like I want, in the summer if I'm having a nautical party to play on a
Oh my
wall.
God,
Yeah.
yes.
But I don't know
Yes.
if I could ever actually sit there through it again because it's a lot. For some reason, it felt very heavy for me, even though it was funny. I kind of felt drunk while I was watching it. Like I was feeling like whenever he's like drinking the like lighthouse
You feel
fluid,
it.
like I'm just like
Yeah.
I'm getting hammered with you,
Yep.
dude. Like,
Yeah.
I felt that way about Into the Void.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That does that too.
I also heard a rumor that Robert Pattinson was like actually drunk the whole movie, and there were scenes where like Willem Dafoe was like, "If you throw up on me, I'm gonna be really pissed off."
Don't do it. You like me, lobster.
Don't you?
Okay, gang, that's it. That's our top 10 list of 2019. We want to thank Chelsea Stardust for coming and joining us and sharing her top 10 list with us.
Thank you for having me.
She has 2 movies out this year. All That We Destroy is available on Hulu right now. Satanic Panic, VOD, DVD, Blu-ray. Go out and get it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Have a great 2020, everybody.
All right, we'll see you guys next time. Make sure to click the subscribe button and like and comment if you have any. All right, thank you for watching our top 10 lists of 2019. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment with what your top 10 list was. We'd love to hear it. Thank you. We'll see you next year.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.